So you're thinking about owning a gym. At 6 o'clock on a Monday evening, the parking lot is full, every treadmill is moving, and the weight floor looks like a crowded train platform. From the sidewalk, the economics seem obvious. A packed gym must be a profitable gym. But the owner's bank account may tell a completely different story. The busiest hour can produce the most wear, the highest staffing pressure, the most complaints about crowding, and almost no new revenue from members who already paid for the month. That is the central contradiction of gym ownership. A gym sells access, but it must build enough space, equipment, ventilation, labor, and maintenance capacity for the people who actually arrive. Revenue is collected through recurring memberships. While many important costs are fixed before the first member scans a card, a location can be popular, well-reviewed, and still struggle because rent, payroll, equipment, financing, and debt service consume the cash before the owner is paid. Demand is real. Association reported 81 million U.S. fitness facility members in 2025. Yet national participation does not guarantee that one facility, in one trade area, with one price point, will work. Success depends on local membership, pricing, retention, capacity, and costs fitting together. This breakdown will follow the money from the lease and build-out to recurring dues, training revenue, payroll, repairs, cancellation rules, break-even, and owner compensation. It will also show why a budget club, a boutique studio, and a coaching-focused facility may all contain exercise equipment while operating like 3 different businesses. The first decision is not which treadmill to buy. It is which economic model to build. A low-price club needs a large member base, simple operations, and enough capacity to survive peak traffic. A mid-market gym competes through equipment, variety, classes, service, and community. A boutique studio sells a narrower experience at a higher price, often with fewer members but more instructor involvement. A personal training facility sells coaching time and client results, so its constraint is not just floor space. It is the number of productive coaching hours available. If you enjoy clear, research-based business breakdowns, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone interested in entrepreneurship. Once the model is chosen, the property becomes the first major financial test. A gym cannot simply occupy any empty retail box. The owner has to confirm zoning, permitted use, occupancy limits, parking, signage, rights, operating hours, noise restrictions, accessibility, and whether the building's electrical, plumbing, and mechanical systems can support the planned operation. A space that looks inexpensive may become costly after engineers discover that the air conditioning, water service, or floor structure needs major work. The lease is more than a monthly rent number. It may include common area charges, property tax, pass-throughs, insurance requirements, maintenance obligations, annual increases, personal guarantees, restoration duties, and limits on assignment or sale. A landlord contribution can reduce opening cash needs, but it may be recovered through higher rent or a longer commitment. Owning the building changes the picture. The operator may build equity and control the property. But now the project includes a down payment, mortgage, property taxes, structural repairs, and more capital tied up in real estate. Leasing preserves flexibility and may require less initial capital, but rent never becomes equity. A strong gym inside an overpriced lease can still be a weak investment, while a modest operating business inside valuable owned real estate may create 2 separate returns, one from operations and another from the property. Those returns should never be mixed when evaluating the gym itself. Build-out is where simple estimates often collapse. Rubber flooring, reinforced equipment areas, mirrors, lighting, acoustic treatment, locker rooms, showers, drainage, hot water capacity, fire protection, accessible routes, restrooms, and front desk systems all compete for the same construction budget. The Americans with Disabilities Act applies to businesses open to the public, and alterations may trigger accessibility requirements. Local building, fire, health, and occupancy rules can add further obligations. Ventilation deserves special attention because people exercise differently from shoppers browsing a store. A crowded training floor produces heat, humidity, and odors. The correct system depends on local code, occupancy, climate, equipment loads, and the building itself. Heating, cooling, and ventilation are already major energy uses in commercial buildings. So an undersized system can create member complaints, while an inefficient system can create a recurring utility problem. The cheapest space may therefore become the most expensive space to condition. Then comes equipment. Commercial cardio machines, strength stations, racks, benches, plates, dumbbells, turf, storage, and accessories form only the visible layer. Delivery, assembly, freight, warranty coverage, and future replacement matter too. Downtime during peak hours also reduces perceived value. Buying equipment outright avoids a monthly financing obligation, but it uses cash that may be needed for payroll and marketing. Financing preserves cash at opening, but adds interest and fixed payments. Leasing may provide an upgrade path, although the contract may restrict cancellation, transfer, or early termination. Used equipment lowers the purchase price, but may bring shorter life or unavailable parts. The right answer depends on cash reserves, expected usage, and the replacement plan. This is why startup capital cannot be reduced to construction plus machines. The U.S. Small Business Administration advises separating one-time startup expenses from monthly costs and planning for operating deficits before revenue covers expenses. For a gym, that means deposits, legal and professional fees, permits, software setup, pre-sale marketing, uniforms, supplies, insurance, and opening payroll, followed by a working capital reserve for the membership ramp. A beautifully completed facility can still fail if the final construction invoice leaves no cash for the first 6 months of operations. Buying an existing gym can shorten that ramp, but the buyer is purchasing more than equipment and a member list. Due diligence should examine how many members are actively paying, how many are discounted, how many payments fail. When annual fees are collected, how often members cancel, whether trainers will remain, and which equipment needs replacement. Deferred maintenance can hide inside an attractive purchase price. So can prepaid memberships that create service obligations. Without bringing new cash after closing, the revenue side starts with recurring dues. Monthly memberships are predictable only when billing, retention, and customer service work. Enrollment fees and annual fees may add cash, but accounting revenue and cash collection are not always identical in timing. Money received in advance can create deferred revenue because the facility still owes access over a future period. That distinction matters when a seller points to a large bank balance and calls it profit. Membership. Tiers can improve average revenue per member. A premium plan may add guest privileges, multiple locations, specialty areas, or recovery services. Some benefits have low incremental cost, but every promise still has to be delivered. Limited amenities can turn a higher priced tier into congestion rather than loyalty. Personal training and small group coaching can produce more revenue per occupied hour than open gym access. They also carry direct labor costs. A training session is not pure profit when the coach receives wages or commission. Payroll taxes apply, scheduling software is required, and unused floor capacity has an opportunity cost. Semi-private training can improve coach productivity because several clients share an hour. But quality can fall if the group becomes too large or skill levels are mismatched. Other revenue may come from specialty classes, youth programs, corporate memberships, drinks, apparel, supplements, equipment rental, or recovery services. These streams can strengthen the business, but each introduces its own cost, risk, and operational complexity. Retail requires inventory and creates shrinkage or expiration risk. Childcare adds staffing, insurance, and regulatory questions. Recovery equipment requires sanitation and maintenance. A second revenue stream is useful only when its contribution margin justifies the distraction. Franchising creates another layer. A franchisee may gain brand recognition, operating systems, approved layouts, purchasing arrangements, and marketing support. In return, the franchisee usually pays initial and ongoing fees under the disclosure document and franchise agreement. Planet Fitness, for example, reports franchise royalties and advertising fund contributions tied to franchisee membership dues and annual fees. Those payments are revenue to the franchisor, not evidence of what one franchise location earns. The individual owner still pays local rent, labor, utilities, debt, and other club expenses. An independent owner avoids franchise royalties and has more freedom over pricing, equipment, design, and suppliers. That freedom also means creating the brand, sales process, technology stack, training standards, and marketing system from the ground up. The independent model is not automatically more profitable. It simply keeps more control and more execution risk in the same hands. Now consider the strange economics of member usage. A member who visits frequently creates more variable cost than a member who rarely visits. They use showers, towels, cleaning supplies, parking, and equipment life. But treating non-attendance as the ideal customer strategy is short-sighted. Members who receive no value are vulnerable to cancellation, payment disputes, regulatory complaints, and negative word of mouth. Sustainable operators try to create enough engagement that members remain satisfied without allowing peak demand to overwhelm the facility. The real objective is not an empty gym. It is a stable relationship between paying membership and usable capacity. Access control data can show visits by hour. Equipment layout can reduce bottlenecks. Class reservations can control limited capacity. Clear onboarding can help beginners use the facility confidently. Maintenance response can protect trust. These operational details affect retention, and retention affects how much the gym must spend replacing canceled members. Cancellation deserves careful treatment. Recurring memberships are negative option arrangements because billing continues until the customer acts. Federal and state requirements can change, and contracts must be reviewed for the actual jurisdiction. In 2026, the Federal Trade Commission reopened public rulemaking on negative option practices after the broad 2024 rule had been vacated. The business lesson is more durable than any one rule. Disclosures, consent, billing, and cancellation procedures should be clear, lawful, and operationally simple. A revenue plan that depends on customers being unable to leave is both reputationally fragile and legally exposed. Payment failure is another form of churn. Cards expire, accounts change, and transactions are declined. Billing software can retry payments and notify members, but aggressive collection can damage the brand. Owners should separate voluntary cancellation from involuntary payment loss because the remedies differ. A member who moved away is not the same as a satisfied customer whose card expired. Location determines. How many suitable customers can reach the facility often enough to value it? The trade area depends on traffic, transport, competition, density, parking, and workout type. A convenience budget club draws differently from a destination studio. Population alone is not enough. Local income, preferences, and competing offers must support the price. Peak hour capacity is where the membership model meets the physical building. A club may have far more total members than it could serve simultaneously because visits are spread across days and hours. That is normal subscription economics, not proof of deception. The risk appears when sales grow faster than usable capacity. Long waits for equipment, crowded locker rooms, parking shortages, and unavailable classes convert membership growth into cancellation pressure. The owner must therefore track members, visits, and peak utilization as 3 different numbers. Staffing begins with the experience promised. A low-service access club may run with a small front desk and cleaning team. A class-led studio depends heavily on instructors. A full-service club may need managers, memberships, sales staff, trainers, cleaners, maintenance support, childcare workers, and lifeguards. Payroll is not just hourly wages. Scheduling coverage, payroll taxes, benefits, recruiting, training, overtime, and turnover all matter. The owner's labor must also be priced honestly. When an owner manages sales, schedules staff, handles billing disputes, repairs equipment, and closes the facility at night without recording a salary, the business may appear more profitable than it really is. That surplus may partly be unpaid wages. A buyer evaluating the gym should normalize the financial statements by adding the market cost of a manager or operator. Otherwise, the buyer may pay for profit that disappears as soon as the founder steps away. Cleaning and maintenance are core production activities, not cosmetic extras. Sweat, shared surfaces, locker rooms, showers, and high-touch equipment create constant work. Preventive maintenance can extend machine life and reduce sudden downtime. Delaying repairs may improve 1 month's cash flow, but it creates a visible decline. Members can feel a row of out-of-order machines acts like an advertisement for cancellation. Insurance can include general liability, property, workers' compensation, professional liability, cyber coverage, and other policies depending on services and location. Waivers may help define risks, but they do not replace safe operations or appropriate insurance. Music creates another small but important compliance item. Playing copyrighted music publicly may require commercial licensing, and a personal streaming subscription should not be assumed to cover business use. The U.S. Copyright Office describes performing rights organizations as a mechanism businesses use to license public performances without negotiating song by song. Technology is now part of the facility. Billing, access control, booking, waivers, cameras, point of sale, payroll, and messaging create fees and cybersecurity responsibilities. Cheap software becomes expensive when it loses billing data or makes reports unreliable. Marketing is not only an opening expense. A gym with churn must continually replace departing members before it can grow. The simple equation is beginning members plus new members minus cancellations equals ending members. If a club begins with 1,000 members and loses 40 during the month, it needs 40 new members merely to stand still. Whether 40 represents good or bad performance depends on the model, contract structure, season, and membership age. But the arithmetic is unavoidable. Acquisition cost should be compared with the contribution produced over a member's expected life, not with the first month's dues. A discounted promotion can fill the sales funnel while creating little value if members cancel quickly. Conversely, a referral program may cost less and produce members who stay longer. The owner needs cohort data showing what happened to members who joined during each campaign, not just the total number of leads. Seasonality can distort judgment. New Year motivation often lifts inquiries and visits, while vacations, weather, school calendars, and local events can soften other periods. A strong January is not permission to spend as though every month will repeat it. Cash reserves should absorb slower sales, repairs, insurance renewals, tax payments, and equipment replacement. Cash flow is timing, and a profitable year on paper can still contain months when the bank balance becomes uncomfortable. Maya is reviewing the monthly results of an eighth independent gym she opened with equipment financing. Her figures are a simplified educational model, not an industry average. The club records $68,000 of monthly revenue from memberships, coaching, classes, and small retail sales. Direct costs, including trainer compensation tied to sessions, payment processing, and merchandise cost. Total, $13,000. That leaves $55,000 of gross profit, rent, and common area. Charges are $13,500. Front desk, cleaning, and administrative payroll is $14,000. Utilities are $4,500. Repairs and supplies are $3,500. Insurance, software, music, and professional services are $3,000. Ongoing marketing is $2,500. Those operating expenses total $41,000, leaving $14,000 before paying for Maya's management, labor, financing, taxes, or owner distributions. If a competent full-time manager would cost $6,000 per month, the normalized operating profit is $8,000, not $14,000. Equipment and startup debt service then uses $6,000, leaving $2,000 before income taxes, capital replacements, and any owner distribution. Maya can work as the manager and receive the $6,000 as compensation, but she should not also describe it as passive profit. The gym is producing a job for her plus a small residual return on invested capital. Now the month weakens. 70 members cancel, coaching sales fall, and total revenue drops by $7,500. Some trainer compensation and processing expense declines, but rent, most payroll, software, insurance, and debt remain. Gross profit falls to $49,500 after roughly $40,000 of other operating expenses, $6,000 of normalized management labor, and $6,000 of debt service. The gym loses about $2,500 before taxes and capital purchases. Nothing dramatic happened. The building still looks active. A modest revenue decline simply collided with a fixed cost structure. Break-even analysis turns that collision into a management tool. The SBA formula is fixed cost divided by price minus variable cost per unit. For a gym with several membership tiers and coaching services, the calculation is more useful when built from contribution margin. Each membership dollar contributes something after payment fees and service-related costs. Coaching contributes after trainer compensation. Retail contributes after product cost. The combined contribution must cover rent, baseline payroll, insurance, software, marketing, maintenance, and any other fixed operating costs. Debt service then determines how much cash remains for the owner. This also explains why revenue can mislead. Two gyms can each report $800,000 in annual sales. One may occupy a sensible lease, own most equipment, retain members well, and be managed by the owner. The other may pay premium rent, carry heavy equipment, debt, employ a general manager, and spend aggressively to replace cancellations. Identical revenue can produce very different operating profit, cash flow, and owner income. Expansion magnifies the system. A second location may spread branding and administration across more revenue, but it also adds another lease, build-out, manager, equipment package, and membership ramp. Scale works only when the first club can operate without constant founder intervention. Resale. Value depends on transferable cash flow, not enthusiasm. A buyer will examine normalized earnings, lease term, equipment condition, member concentration, pricing, churn, deferred revenue, legal compliance, staff retention, and the amount of capital expenditure approaching. Owned real estate should be valued separately from the operating company. A franchise transfer may require franchisor approval and fees. An independent brand may be harder to transfer if members joined mainly because of the founder. The most resilient gym is not necessarily the cheapest, largest, or busiest. It is the one whose promise matches its trade area, whose recurring revenue survives honest cancellation practices, whose peak demand fits the facility, and whose contribution margin covers fixed costs with room for repairs and reinvestment. It knows the difference between a member, a visit, and $1 of cash. It also knows the difference between owner wages and investment return. So, is owning a gym a good business? It can be, but the answer does not live in the crowd at 6 o'clock. It lives in the lease, the retention report, the payroll schedule, the maintenance log, the debt agreement, and the owner's ability to convert recurring access into recurring value. The gym floor shows activity. The financial statements show whether the owner built a durable business,